there are more people today. It's Saturday, it's the weekend. Yeah. Yesterday was an intimate fireside chat. I'd love to start off with, who are some of the female role models in your life?
Female role models in your life? Well, it changes, obviously. Meryl Streep has always been an all-time favorite. I think she's class act and pretty incredible. I think untouchable in regards to talent. Michelle Obama, love her work, love her book, love what she's done. I don't know. Yeah, those two are my faves.
Those are pretty good ones.
Okay.
Yeah. A lot of people at Comic-Cons get to play at being heroes, or a lot of actors and actresses get to play at being heroes, but you are involved with the IRC.
Yeah.
Yes. Can we talk a little bit about that? How did you get involved?
The IRC stands for International Rescue Committee. It was an organization founded actually by Albert Einstein to help, rehabilitate, or I'm blanking on the word, but help refugees resettle, thank you, into the United States. So my work is basically just to bring awareness, to help the foundations, to help them raise money, to help show what's happening in other countries and why people are refugees, what that means, and how difficult it is, to move to another country and resettle when you don't speak the language, you're not familiar with the system, and you don't want to be a burden on the system.
And you went to Colombia.
I did. Most recently, I went to Colombia in order to show a spotlight on the crisis in Venezuela, what's happening, and all the immigrants coming into Colombia, a country that is, also not doing great economically, but is supporting thousands and thousands of refugees that are coming through its borders, through various illegal crossings and legal crossings, and trying to, just try to have a better life.
How can people like us help with awareness in situations like this?
IRC.org will tell you everything you need to know. There are very simple ways to make donations that are very, what I love about them is they'll tell you exactly what you're buying. So for like $5, you can educate a girl in Africa for a month, and like you literally can pick and choose the way in which you want to help. And reading about it is just being aware also helps. I like when the holidays come around, I don't know about you guys, but I always feel like I have too much stuff, and I just tell people, like, make a donation to this instead, or Father's Day, Mother's Day, and just buy somebody, something that makes you feel good.
I'm going to shift gears a little bit, because I assume there's a lot of emotional investment when you get involved with a cause like that. But speaking of emotions and your career, yesterday we talked about logistically challenging scenes. What are some of the most emotionally challenging scenes you can remember filming?
Ooh. Well, I actually spoke about this a little bit yesterday, but I just finished shooting a movie called Greenland with Gerard Butler, and we are a family. We have a 7-year-old son, and a meteor is about to hit the Earth and kill everybody. Really low stakes. And we go on this journey because we discover that we've been pre-selected by the government, because my husband, played by Gerard Butler, is an engineer and a structural engineer, and they have selected certain people to go to this bunker in Greenland in order to restart civilization once the world has been wiped out, basically. And we have this harrowing, of course, journey to get there, and in part of the journey, my son gets kidnapped from me. And I had to shoot a scene where, I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it, where I get ripped out of the car, thrown on the floor, my son gets taken away by these crazy people, and I'm chasing after this car. And just doing that scene over and over and over again, you have to put yourself through such torture to be realistic in that moment. And I just kept picturing my own children getting taken from me, and it was a pretty harrowing day.
How do you prepare for a scene like that, aside from picturing?
Honestly, you can't. And I find that I am more in the moment if I just don't think about it as much, and then I show up and I have to just do it. You can't kind of like psych yourself up for something like that.
So in V, you played an alien thing. If you were to be like the first point of contact for an alien civilization, what would you want them to say, and what would you say to them?
How's that?
That works.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm actually really into the idea. I think it'd be really kind of cool, but terrifying. I don't know. What would another being from another planet think of us? crazy.
Yes.
I don't know.
Better answer.
It's cool, yeah.
There were some pretty unique gifts exchanged in Deadpool. We're just going to go through your filmography.
Okay.
There were some pretty unique gifts exchanged in Deadpool 2.
Mm-hmm.
What is the most unique gift you've been given?
Given a lot of gifts at conventions, actually. Some good, some not so good.
Please keep this in mind if you ask a question later.
I've been given, like, you know, weird chocolates from different countries and, like, you know, weird food substances from different places. And I'm sorry, I don't know you. My mom told me never to take candy from strangers.
Yeah, this is like rule 1 of Halloween.
So, that's one of the weirdest things. I'm trying to think if there was like a family member, anybody who's ever given me strange. I don't think so.
What gift would you like to receive? There's like a wish list out there.
Flowers, always nice. People draw quite a bit and do a lot of fan art, and it's so beautiful. I'm always very touched by that. Money? No, I'm kidding.
PayPal, Venmo, Bitcoin, all of it. Cash. Cash is always no. Do you have any keepsakes from any of the sets you've been on?
I do. I always get my chair back because we get chairs like this one on set, and they have our name, our character name, and that's always really nice to keep as memorabilia of every project we've done. I have random things, like on Firefly, I stole,
Borrowed, but no intention of borrow.
right, but then it was canceled, so I didn't have to give it back. This little tea set. I had a lot of really cool things in my shuttle, and I swiped that. And then this bowl, this porcelain bowl that, I can't remember her name. Somebody helped somebody deliver a baby using that bowl. Anyway, and I'm trying to think of other, I always keep, like, there's always like a pair of shoes or like, you know, some clothes that I like. Some characters.
I mean, they fit you perfectly usually.
I mean, they were bought for me. Who else is gonna wear it, right?
I mean, it'd be ruined for someone else.
Right.
You can't repeat an outfit. What is one of your most memorable audition stories, good or bad?
I once had to do a lap dance. The character was, you know, a dancer, exotic dancer, and it was very tasteful, whatever, but they used, in the audition scene, was a scene where I talked to a guy while I'm giving him a lap dance, and I'm like, this doesn't have to be the audition you want me to do. Can you pick any other scene? And I was very young and green and just starting out. Honestly, if somebody gave me that audition now, I'd be like, no, I'm not doing it. I'll do something else to show you I can act, and you decide whether or not you want to hire me. But that's just rude. So I had to sit in a room with producers and director and lap dance a chair, you know, while I did the scene, and it was awful. It felt terrible.
Do you find that you have the power to say no more now?
Absolutely, but really, not just because I'm successful, but also because I grew into myself a little bit more and realized, you know what, there are certain things that are just not worth it.
Are there any stories that you're willing to tell that involve exercising that kind of power?
Sure, I won't name names, but I had a meeting once at a very famous company that does a lot of big movies, where this producer came out of, I walked into his office, we had set up a meeting, it was under the pretext of talking about a particular film, and I walked into his office and his shirt was off, and he was just coming out of his bathroom in his office, buttoning up his shirt, and I'm like, your secretary told me I was here. Like, there's no like, oops, I walked in on you kind of thing, you know?
Oh, didn't see you there.
Yeah, and he proceeded to ask me out on a date and whatever, and I was like, I see, we're here to talk about dating. And I was like, no, thank you. I have a boyfriend. I didn't. Nice to meet you. See you later.
I mean, it feels icky when something like that happens because somebody is using their power to try to get you to do something. It's not cool. Yeah. And I think it occurs, unfortunately, at like all levels of kind of,
as we've learned very recently, quite a bit.
But anyway, what is the most useful skill that you picked up from working that you were able to apply to the real world?
guess adaptability, being, they call this business the business of hurry up and wait, because you're rushing to get ready, you're rushing to rehearse, whatever, and then there's like a 30 or 40 minute lighting setup, and you're just waiting for that to happen, but you have to keep your energy up, you have to stay in the scene, stay in the moment, and there's you crash constantly, and you have to just, I used to feel really tense about like having to stay in the moment, especially if you're doing an emotional scene, and wait those periods out, but now I just kind of let myself go out of it, and come back into it, and allow myself, that I have permission to take time when I need it to get myself where I need to go, because everybody up here, the crew has their time for light, to make the set look right, the director has their time, everybody's got their time, and then when it comes time for the actor to be on stage, we're expected to just be ready to go at, drop of a hat, but you need your moment to prepare.
If acting was no longer an option, what do you think you'd be doing?
I have no idea. I have no other talents. That's it.
Hobbies that you might want to pursue? Acting, got it.
Acting.
Yeah, okay. What is some of the best advice you've been given? The power of no. Being able to say no. How do you relax?
A glass of wine.
Red or white?
Right away. Big gulp. Just honestly sitting down, having a glass of wine, like the kids are in bed, everybody's sleeping, quiet, nobody talking to me, and just a moment to take a breath and enjoy just sitting there.
This is a Chris Hadfield-inspired question. What does a normal weekend look like for you?
Total chaos. Starts usually at around 6:30 a.m., kids wanting things, everybody needs something, breakfast, chaos, what are we doing, park. If we're lucky, Ben and I will get a date night, babysitter. But at that point, like our date nights start at like 6 p.m. because we know that by 9 we'll be asleep. It's great though. I'll tell you, get some early bird specials. Real cheap to go out at 6 p.m. on a Saturday night.
Always hit that happy hour.
Yeah. Oysters, it's great.
We will take audience questions shortly if anyone would like to line up. What is the last thing you binge watched?
Big Little Lies. Really loved it.
Speaking of Meryl. Yeah.
Oh, she's so good. She reminded me of Sexy Beast, of the Ben Kingsley character in that, because you hate him so much. He's just insane, and like it just gets you. I wanted to kill him.
And you're the other one. And what are you a fan of?
Just in general?
Yeah.
Food.
Love food. Anything in particular?
Just good food, really, honestly. I mean, I love going out to eat. I love trying new restaurants. I love eating.
I would like to hear your experience in shooting the movie Deadpool, because that movie just cracked me up big time.
Cracked me up too. I had a really good time. I auditioned for that, was really fun actually. I first read the script, and I know this is gonna shock everybody in this audience. I did not know who Deadpool was. I know, sorry. I thought we were doing a remake of the old Paul Newman movie called Deadpool. Anyway.
I would also like to see that version with the two of you, though.
Then I read it, and I was like, this is incredible. It's so funny. I was like, is it just me? And nothing like this had ever been done in a superhero world genre. And I had such a blast, and I thought, well, maybe a few people will see this. It'll probably be like, kind of like an indie superhero movie. I don't know who's going to really gravitate towards this. It's kind of my sense of humor. I was a little shocked when it came out to rave reviews and big audiences. I had the best time shooting it. Ryan is incredible at what he does in that movie, and we improvised a lot together. He was very generous and gave me some pretty great lines, to say, and we had a really good time.
This is going to be one of my weird creative questions. So I was recently rewatching Deadpool 2 on a plane, and for whatever reason it was censored, which I don't know how you can do that movie that way. But you have young children, and one of the euphemisms in the movie they used was pirate ship father, which piece of... yes. What are some of the substitute words in your household?
Yeah. Oh, in our household, I don't use substitute goes, I said a bad word. And I'm like, I know, now you know the difference. So don't say it.
Important learning experience.
Exactly. When I was doing the ADR for the airplane version, we had to come up with a lot of different words. One of my favorites for asshole was flagpole.
Oh yes, of course. Everyone knows the flagpole.
That's pretty good.
Good afternoon. I have a Firefly question.
Great.
Sorry.
That's okay.
What was your favorite part or scene that you acted in the series Firefly?
I loved the, I don't know, it's been so long, forgive me, but I believe it's in Heart of Gold, where I tell Mal that I'm leaving, right? Yeah. And that, to me, that scene was so complicated because obviously she doesn't want to go. But the whole reason for her renting this shuttle from him was that she wouldn't form any attachments. And then she did, and then she realized that she had to get out of there before it got deeper and worse for her. But she didn't want to. So it was a really hard but really kind of emotionally fun scene to like dig into.
Hello, I was wondering if you knew how you got the part that was How I Met Your Mother. You were in one episode. Do you know if that part was written for you?
It was not written for me. Oh my god, I can't remember if I auditioned for that. I probably did. I can't remember. I loved doing it though, it was super crazy. Yeah.
How has the process of getting parts changed for you over the course of the career? Like, are you auditioning more now, or are you kind of choosing things?
It depends on the project. You know, anything that's really amazing, you have to fight for in this business. There's a lot of competition and a lot of actors out there, and so I am not above going in and giving it my best. Also because it is a chance for me to try on the part and to see if it feels right and to see if I like the director and the producers and the experience of making a movie. So it just depends. Some things you just have meetings and you talk to people and you get a sense. A lot of Skype meetings, which are often not great. And then, you know, I put myself on tape for things, and then sometimes offers just come in based on people having worked with me in the past and stuff.
What's the last offer you took that just kind of came in and you were like, I want that?
Greenland, this movie with Jerry Butler. I had a chat with the director, and then they offered it to me, and I was like, you know, it was, you know, one of those movies that you're like, when I was about to read it, I was like, oh, I know what this is gonna be. A meteor hits the earth, like Armageddon, like haven't we seen this already? And when I started reading it, I was like, oh my god, it's really heartfelt. Like, and I was just like turning every page, wanting to know what was happening to this family. I thought, you know what, this is kind of awesome. Yeah.
What is your favorite costume you ever got to wear?
Gotten some pretty good ones. Honora had some amazing costumes that were just each one handmade and hand-stitched and fitted to me.
And how many of those did you keep?
I actually did not keep any because they auctioned them. No, they auctioned them off to charity, which I think is a better thing than them just sitting in my closet. I mean, I'm not going to pull it out on a Saturday night.
Yeah, I just want to wear that too.
Yeah.
Like, what type of date night?
Exactly. Doesn't work.
So you've been part of some really fantastic franchises,
Thank you.
like X-Men or DC TV. Are there any other franchises that you would be interested in joining in the future, and why?
I'm dying to be a Bond. Not a Bond girl anymore. Now I just want to be Bond. It's time, right? I mean, come on.
Hello. What was your favorite season of Gotham?
Probably the one where I get infected with the Touch virus. That was so fun to get, you know, because Lee was so good and so moral and such a good person, and it was so fun to see her completely deconstruct.
Thank you very much.
Hi, I also had a question about Lee. What initially drew you to her character?
Honestly, I didn't know much about her. She's sort of a small character in the DC universe. I really loved the show. It had already started airing by the time I got the role. It was kind of an incoming call, do you want to be a part of this? And I watched it, and I thought what they were doing on the show was so beautiful. I loved the look of it. I loved the style. I love that kind of like film noir, romantic banter. So I really wanted to do it.
There were a lot of great guests on Gotham.
Amazing.
Was there anyone you were particularly geeked out to be working with?
Michael Cervers, for sure, who played Professor Pig. He was unbelievable and such a great guy. And watching him work was incredible.
Good afternoon. I've always enjoyed your work.
Thank you.
And I was wondering about V. It ended in quite a cliffhanger. How would you have ended it?
I never would have ended it. I mean, why? Why end it? I think the V's obviously had to take over Earth.
They succeeded.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi.
I really admire your work in the Deadpool 2 franchise. How did you feel when you were ended pretty quickly in the Deadpool 2 movie?
Wow, spoilers.
I know, right? Big spoilers. I got a call from Ryan, and he was like, I'm sending you the script for Deadpool 2. I was like, yay! He's like, read it all the way to the end, please. I was like, uh-oh, that doesn't sound good. First, I immediately died at page 20. I was like, what did I do wrong? And he's like, look, we had to do the highest stakes you could possibly take away or give this character was to take away the love of his life. That's the only thing that's gonna make this guy go completely out of his mind. So it made sense to me. And then I loved that we shot it, and I was like, okay, well, and all the writers, everybody's like, it's been really nice working with you. Thanks so much. And I was like, okay, bye, have fun. And then they screened the movie, and they're like, oh, I think we gotta bring her back. And they added the time machine thing at the very end where he goes back in time and saves me. So yay!
As far as ghostly presences go, those were some really emotional moments in the entire movie. Were you expecting that, having worked with them on the first film, and then
No, I mean, honestly, I thought, okay, I get why they're doing this, and I think it is kind of the worst thing you could do to Deadpool, is to take away Vanessa. Especially after, they really come together in the first movie. So I totally, intellectually got it. I was super bummed out. And I didn't understand the repercussions of that and what it would do for the film. And then watching the film, I was like, oh yeah, of course, it makes sense. And their bond is so strong that it carries you through the entire movie, even though they're not together in the movie. And you don't see much of them together in the movie, but the love that they had and they created, in the writing of this film, it is the impetus for the entire second movie, even though she's not around.
then was it true that some of the ethereal scenes were very challenging for you personally to?
Yes. Yeah, you've done your research. We first shot, so I get killed, and then they wanted all the scenes where I'm in heaven and he's trying to get to me and there's this wall separating us. They wanted that to feel very ethereal and strange, and so the first idea was to shoot it underwater. So, yeah, sounds great, right? So they were like, are you comfortable? Do you scuba dive? And I was like, no. Are you comfortable 15, 20 feet underwater? And I was like, what kind of question is that? What do you mean comfortable? I don't hang out, 20 feet underwater every day. So then I had to go through this scuba training, and I don't do well in confined spaces. It's just not something I'm into. We shot all of those sequences in a massive tank in Vancouver. The whole crew, everybody, goggles, masks, oxygen tank, cameras underwater. They sunk the Vanessa and Wade apartment set under the water, so you had TV, pillows, couches, everything nailed down so it wouldn't float up underwater. And we were supposed to I was sitting in a chair, much like I did in the film, with weights, so that it looked like I was actually just chilling there. And my hair is just kind of floating up, and we're talking, like I had to speak the lines, everything underwater. It induced so much panic in me, you have no idea. It was 2 days of asking for oxygen constantly, because then a diver comes over and gives you a little thing, and then they take it away. You gotta hold your breath, you do the take, you do the thing. Oh, there's bubbles on your face, can you do it again? And then, like, you know, and you look up and you're in an apartment. I can't see the top of the water. There's a ceiling there. It was terrifying for me. And then they scrapped the whole thing.
Obviously, it's part of the job, and you know, but when a scene like that does not make the cut, do you just like?
I want to murder them. I told David Leitch, I was like, I want to put you underwater for about 2 days and just leave you there, see how you like it. He's like, I'm sorry. It looked really cool. I was like, I'm not cool enough, obviously.
DVD bonus material.
Yeah, exactly. I hope it's in there. I don't even know if it is.
And speaking of underwater.
Yeah.
How's it going?
Good, thanks.
So twofold. Anything you can tell us about the future of Deadpool, Deadpool 3 with Disney, and then also will we see more Batman in the future Gotham project?
All questions I would love to answer, but I have no idea. I don't know how this merger is going to affect our franchise. I'm not in a position of making those calls, but I'm very curious to see what will happen. And I think, you know, Gotham is all about the prequel and teasing what happens. I think once Batman shows up, you got Batman. It's not really Gotham anymore. Thanks.
Hopefully we don't get a pirate ship father version of Deadpool.
Not doing it.
What was the favorite Deadpool scene you acted in?
Aww.
Have you seen Deadpool?
Yeah. Are you?
I was a little worried.
And it was
Someday.
It was probably International Women's Day. No kidding. It was. I love the scene that we meet, the bar scene where we meet for the first time. There was a lot of back and forth banter between Ryan and I. A lot of that was improv, and it was really, really fun to do. When I'm cracking up, I'm genuinely cracking up.
Do you prefer a more structured set, or do you like the improv, or does it kind of depend on
It
the?
depends on the thing. In a movie like that, you know, you want to capture those real moments, and so there's a lot of mess around. We always shot the scene as written, and we did it, and got out of the way, and then we just messed around, and some good stuff came out of it, some terrible stuff came out of it. The movie I just shot, the action movie, it was all very realistic, very handheld, cameras in your faces, no marks. Usually you have marks where you stand so the light can hit you the right way and the camera knows where to get you and whatever. This was very like documentary style. And often they'd be like, they're ready for you on set. And then it'd be like, rolling. I'm like, what scene, what shot, what's happening?
Where are we?
Just go. I'm like, okay. They're like, okay, you just get in this car, you're gonna go in this car. Jerry, you guys are just gonna drive to the end of the road here, and there's a car over there's gonna explode, a car over there's gonna explode, there's gonna be like a big like bomb thing that like hits that person right in front of you, they're gonna blow up. You guys just then go ahead, make the U-turn and scream and go this way. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what? True story. It's like, okay. It was really real. Every time something exploded, I'm like, what was that?
Method, very method.
Yeah.
Hi, you've done a lot of work with both DC and Marvel. If you had to choose one, which one would you pick?
Do not make me choose between my fake favorite husband and my real favorite husband. It's impossible. One I got a husband out of, the other one I got a great, you know, movie husband out of, so can't choose.
You get to have it all. I mean, that's the dream.
Since you said you like to eat, what's your go-to dish to cook?
I like to make several different things. I don't often cook very much anymore, but I like to make Brazilian food. I'm from Brazil, so I enjoy a nice fish stew, Brazilian stew. I love to make Mediterranean food a lot. I love like the meats, the stewed meats that you kind of. I love Italian cooking because it's all about like what's in your fridge, and you just like throw it all together and braise it for a long time and eat it with bread.
This is a discussion my coworkers and I have at lunch a lot, so I'm just going to ask you because I can. If you could only eat one food for the rest of your life, and let's say that calories don't count, doesn't matter, you're not going to gain or lose weight, what would it be and why?
Pizza.
A
really good gourmet pizza and a bottle of wine.
Thin crust or deep dish?
Thin crust.
Any toppings in particular? I'm just really hungry.
Prosciutto. Prosciutto and arugula pizza with like a drizzle of olive oil.
Like a fancy pizza.
Yeah, fancy pizza.
Okay, all right, I like it.
How many auditions did you make before your first big break?
Oh,
Great question.
great question.
You want my job?
This is gonna sound super obnoxious.
The answer's gonna be one, isn't it?
I was graduating school and I went out for my first 2 auditions and booked the first 2 jobs that I got, and I was like, oh, this is easy. And then I didn't work for a year, but the first 2 were very good, and they were movies that went nowhere fast that nobody's ever seen, but I was like, oh, I can do this. I know how to do this, and then I was like, oh, it's the longevity that's hard.
Yeah. Do you remember where you were, where you got that first call that was like, you're in?
Yeah, I was home, I was with my mom, and I was like, oh my God, I started, okay, this is my professional life is starting. It was very, very exciting. Still living at home, not for long.
What's it like working with Ryan Reynolds?
Great. He's so funny. It's hard to be around him and it's hard to keep up with him. You know, my face would hurt at the end of the day. I'm like, oh, why does my jaw hurt? Because I've been like that all day long. He's also a really sweet guy, a very hard worker. I mean, his mind doesn't stop. He's constantly thinking about how to make something better or the next thing, or, you know, he's great. No question.
That's a friendly in it, yeah.
Amazing.
We got,
Do you watch all the movies and television that you act in, and do you watch a lot of sci-fi and superhero stuff all
I don't watch a lot of sci-fi. I mean, there are certain shows that I like, but I grew up watching Star Wars and The Labyrinth and, you know, all those great movies. Labyrinth was David Bowie was my favorite of all time. Sometimes I don't watch things that I do. It really depends. Like, I will admit that I have not seen every single episode of Gotham. There's 100 of them, and I have 2 children. So I've shot them, I was there, I saw it happen, I don't maybe need to watch it. And there are certain projects and things that, I don't know, that, you know, I feel like I went through the process of doing it and I just don't want to see it.
yesterday it sounded like Ben struggles a little bit also with watching more of your work.
Clearly.
If there was like one thing that was mandatory viewing to him, what would it be that he hasn't seen yet?
Homeland. I feel like that's the thing that I am the most proud of as a show, as an entity, you know, as something that was really challenging for me, and personally, I felt like I grew as an actor. Some of it is quite boring, I'm sure, but like for me personally, it meant a lot.
And that show was so stressful.
It was stressful,
So
yeah. It's stressful to do.
It's stressful one to watch and stressful one to like binge, especially.
I'm Ryan Reimer. My question is based on the last couple of questions you just answered, but out of all the things you tried out for, are there any roles like on TV or film roles that you really wish you could have gotten that you just didn't get?
Oh my God, probably so many. I put it behind me and I don't think about it too much, but I mean, you know, it's funny. You get really attached to something and you really want to play it, and then you either see it and you're like, okay, glad I didn't do that. Or something else comes along that you end up doing. You know, there have been movies that I didn't get and then I got Deadpool, you know, the next day or something. And you're like, okay, well, obviously I was meant to do this. I'm so glad that I did this instead. I don't want to mention what they are because it's kind of obnoxious. Somebody else did those roles and did a great job, so I don't want to, you know, say that, whatever, that I didn't want them, because that's maybe not true.
In fairness, I'm sure there are many people who feel the same way about your roles, right?
That's
They're
so true.
I wish I did it.
Yeah, it's true. I tested with, you know, I think 4 other girls for Deadpool, and yeah.
Hi, so you've been talking about more recent projects that you've worked on, and my question is, what would you say your favorite earlier project was?
A favorite earlier project?
The 3-episode arc of the OC.
Maya Griffin. I'm trying to think so I can answer appropriately. I know you guys want me to say Firefly. No, I genuinely loved working. That was my first TV show, and it has a very special place in my heart. I guess that could be my answer. I'm trying to think if there was something else that's more obscure that people haven't really seen, but no, yeah, I'll stick with that.
So acting is a really tough business, and many times you don't get the parts that you really, really want, or a great show that you're on gets canceled. How do you deal with that disappointment when that happens?
Wine, red wine. Day or night. I don't know. You eventually, unfortunately, do get good at rejection. And you realize it's not personal. There are so many factors that goes into a show or making something. And I've had those nights where, there was something that I really, really, truly loved. There have been shows that I've developed and just gone through years of the inception to creating the script, to finding the writers and the producers, and then it gets bought, you write the thing, you think you're gonna go shoot a pilot, and then the whole thing gets yanked. It's like, oh, no, you know what, we have a show that's similar, we're not gonna do that. And you're like, that was 2 years of my life, And you just kind of have to move on.
Hi. So I'm a pretty big fan of Gotham. I hope this isn't a redundant question. How was it working on that show? Are there any highlights from there that you really enjoyed during your time on it?
Sure. I said this yesterday. Getting married, having a husband come out of that was pretty great. Family. In real life. But it was 5 years, and I got to kind of see that character through many peaks and lows, highs and lows, and it was really interesting. And a lot of it, it was very meaningful personally to me for obvious reasons. And then I remember, getting pregnant while I was on the show and being all nervous about telling the writers that, they're gonna have to work around that. And it's 22 episodes. There's kind of no good time to do it, and you're gonna be pregnant through most of it. And then they were like, well, we actually just made your character pregnant on the show, totally coincidentally, so that's perfect. And I was like, yes, score. And then, of course, they killed my baby, but that's a whole other story. I was like, oh, great, I have to act that after just giving birth. Fantastic. But, I think that all of those story points and others, and, marrying a guy when I really want to be married to another guy, and, all those things are really, juicy and fun to see where your character evolves.
Yeah, so I think it's a bit of an interesting question as well. Have you ever been offered a continuous vampire role, a vampiress, if you will? Because you always stay the same, ever since you came out in your film. It's
oh, thank you.
You'd be able to
go on.
Or are you actually a vampire?
I'm actually a vampire. Hiding my fangs. I've never played a vampire. There we go. I gotta play a vampire. And I'm not actually a vampire, just for the record. I do age quite a bit.
When did you decide that you wanted to be an actress, and was it an easy step, doing your first audition and kind of jumping into that field?
I was really, really shy growing up, and I wasn't sure. My mom was an actress, and my uncle and great uncle was a director, and it's sort of been in my family for a long time. And I never really thought about it for myself. I always thought I was always kind of a dork, and I was really into academics and doing well in school. And then I grew up in New York City, and I was auditioned for LaGuardia High School, and I auditioned for art, for drawing, and for drama. And I thought, if I did drama, it would probably help me with social skills and being able to get up in front of people if I ever needed to do a
Comic-Con panel someday.
Con panel. There you go. But I was just thinking of it more professionally, just if I was going to do a lecture or whatever. And then I started acting. It was so funny, the subconscious, right? Of course I was pushing myself in that direction because it was what I was familiar with in my family. And the first day of school, I remember being like, oh, yeah, this is what I'm gonna do for a living. Like I was 14 years old, and I was like, there's nothing else I want. And at that point, I was just on a straight path, straight to this, to Silicon Valley, to stay here.
Do you have any advice to anyone who wants to kind of pursue acting? No?
I would first make sure that that is the only thing that you want to do. If there is another talent, if there is something else that you love, do that instead. It is not for the faint of heart. But if it is truly your passion, go for it. Don't let anybody tell you can't do it, and just learn from people. Try doing things. Try writing. Try shooting things. Try, being proactive. That is the hardest part as an actor, is waiting around for jobs.
All right, we have time for either one more question or 3 more very quick questions. Be quick, go.
Alright, this might not be a quick question. Hi, I'm back. I just have one more question, which is, you've done a lot of both live action and voice roles. How do you approach those differently?
They're actually very, very different, but in a way, the difference is, with live action, you're using your whole body, and I find that the acting part of it is easier. With voice acting, you have to manipulate your voice to convey an intention that is not necessarily what's on the cartoon. Like a lot of times they do the drawing first, and then you do the voice so that you can see what the character is doing. And I'll be doing something, and they're like, that didn't sound like you're out of breath. You're like, oh yeah, fuck, how do I do that again? And then you just like have to redo it, and really you manipulate your voice.
Hi, in the 70s, I was a huge fan of V. And
Yeah.
then when you did the remake, I was a big fan of that as well. If they had not so unceremoniously pulled the plug on it, where would you have seen it going?
Alien invasion takes over the Earth, all humans die, the beasts take over, we're all little lizards walking around.
Big fan. Want to talk about The Mentalist?
Oh boy. Okay, just anything?
That you just want to talk about?
The show was fun. I never knew if she was good or bad, honestly. She was just kind of a weird person, Erica Flynn. I had a great time doing it. Simon Baker was very, very sweet, very nice guy. Yeah, she was kind of twisted, but weird twisted. I never knew whether I was playing a good person or a bad person.
Well, thank you so much. So we can see you in Ode to Joy out now.
Yes, Ode to Joy's out now.
And then if you're in Brazil, you can see you on TV.
In treatment if you're in Brazil.
Yeah, and then Greenland next year.
That's coming out.
Another movie next year.
Waldo and Greenland.
Yes.
2 movies to look out for sometime next year.
Ooh, well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.